Om Namo Narayana. Discourse 4. Redemption of a Brahmana, Atmadeva. Sutta began again. Now perceiving extraordinary devotion in the mind of his devotees, the Lord, who is so fond of his devotees, entered the sinless hearts of his devotees, leaving his own realm. He had a garland of sylvan flowers about his neck, was dark brown as the rainy cloud, was clad in yellow silk of exquisite texture, stole the mind of all by his extreme comeliness of form, was resplendent with a shining girdle, and was adorned with a brilliant diadem and alligator-shaped earrings. He stood in a lovely pose, with his body slanting at 3 places, and was decked with the charming Kaustuba, a diamond-like gem hanging on his breast. He possessed the grace of millions of cupids, and was daubed with heavenly sandal paste, and was an embodiment of supreme bliss and consciousness, most charming in aspect, and held a flute against his lips. The denizens of Vaikuntha, as well as those like Uddhava, who are devoted to Lord Vishnu, were present there under disguised character with the object of listening to the story. Then, on the appearance of the Lord, shouts of "Glory, glory to the Lord!" and blasts of conches were repeatedly heard. There was an unusual abundance of joy and showers of red powder and flowers from above. Those present in that assembly forgot all about their body, dwelling, and even their own self. Perceiving this state of their absorption, Narada submitted as follows. Such transcendent virtue emanating from the hearing of Srimad Bhagavata in a week has been witnessed by me today, O great sages. Even those who are ignorant and wicked, including beasts and birds here, have all become most sinless. Therefore, in the Kali age, there is certainly no other holy act on earth, the region of mortals, as efficacious in purifying the mind, as well as in wiping out the heaps of sin, as the story of Srimad Bhagavata. Pray, tell me what types of individuals get thoroughly purified through a 7 days yajna, consisting of an exposition of Srimad Bhagavata. Keeping in view the good of the world, an altogether novel method has been brought to light by you, compassionate as you are. The Kumaras said, those men who constantly perpetrate sinful deeds, who are ever addicted to immoral practices, who take to evil ways, who are consumed by the fire of anger, and who are wicked and full of passion, are purified in Kali Yuga through a 7 days yajna. Even those who are devoid of truthfulness, who revile their parents, who are restless due to thirst for pleasures, who do not follow the duties of their ashrama, who are hypocrites, who are jealous of the achievements of others, who take delight in destruction of life, become holy through a 7 days yajna in Kali Yuga. Those who commit the 5 great sins, which are drinking, killing a Brahmana, stealing gold, having intercourse with the wife of one's preceptor, and treachery, who are ever engaged in practicing deception and chicanery, who are cruel and merciless like demons, who have grown fat with the money of Brahmanas, who commit adultery, are all purified in Kali Yuga through a 7 days yajna. The fools who are ever obstinately engaged in committing sins by thought, word, and deed, who are parasites, whose mind is impure, and whose heart is wicked, they all attain purity through a 7 days yajna. Narada, we now relate to you an old historical legend. Sins are destroyed by merely listening to it. In days gone by, a beautiful town was situated on the bank of the Tungabhadra. All the residents of that town performed the duties of their caste, spoke the truth, and engage themselves in righteous acts. There lived in that town a Brahmana named Atmadeva who was well versed in all the Vedas and proficient in performing rites as laid down in the Shrutis and the Smritis. He was glorious like a second sun. Though rich, he made his living by alms. His wife, called Dunduli, was of good parentage and good looking, but she always ruled over her husband. She indulged in worldly gossip, mostly talked a lot, was cruel and miserly, and expert in household duties, though quarrelsome. So the Brahmana couple lived together affectionately and enjoyed life. They had enough to satisfy their desires and achieve their objects. They had a good house to live in, yet they were not happy. When they became aged, they commenced righteous deeds with the object of having an issue. They started gifting every day cows, land, gold, and cloth to the needy. In this manner, they spent half their fortune on righteous deeds, yet they did not get a son or even a daughter. This greatly worried the Brahmana. One day, the Brahmana, distressed as he was, left his house for the forest. At midday, he felt thirsty and therefore went up to a tank. The grief born of issuelessness had made him lean and thin. After he had drunk water, he sat down exhausted. After one muhurta, which is 48 minutes, a sannyasi too arrived at that very spot. When the Brahmana saw that the sannyasi had quenched his thirst, he went to the sannyasi and after bowing at his feet, stood in front of him, sighing. The sannyasi said, "O Brahmana, why do you weep? In what great distress are you? Tell me at once the cause of your grief." The Brahmana submitted, "O sage, what description shall I give you of my sorrow, earned through sins I did in my previous lives? When I offer oblations of water to the spirits of my departed ancestors, the water becomes lukewarm through their sighs, and they drink that lukewarm water. The gods and the Brahmanas do not accept my offerings with pleasure. I am so grieved by the agony of issuelessness that everything appears to me to be void, and I have come here to end my life. Worthless is life without an issue. Worthless is home without an issue. Worthless is wealth without an issue. Worthless is a race without an issue. The cow that I keep turns out to be altogether barren. The tree I plant does not bear any flower or fruit. The fruit that comes to my house soon gets rotten. When I am so unfortunate and issueless, what for should I live?" Saying so, and struck with grief, the Brahmana began to weep bitterly beside him. This greatly moved the heart of the ascetic. He was established in yoga. He saw the lines on the forehead of the Brahmana and coming to know everything, then spoke to him at length as follows. The sannyasi said, "O Brahmana, give up the infatuation for getting an issue. Most powerful is the course of one's destiny. Taking recourse to wisdom, give up the craving for mundane existence. Listen to me, O Brahmana. I have looked into your past karma today. For 7 lives, you will have absolutely no son, and no son at all. In the days of yore, the king Sagara and Anga had to suffer a lot because of their sons. Therefore, give up all hope of having a family. There is all happiness in renunciation, also known as sannyasa." The Brahmana said, "O saint, how will Viveka help me? Perforce, let me have a son, otherwise I will be in your very presence, become unconscious with grief and give up my life. This renunciation in which there is no pleasure of having a son, etc., is altogether insipid. The only sweet thing in this world is family life, crowded with sons and grandsons. Seeing this insistence of the Brahmana, the sage, rich in severe self-discipline, said, King Chitraketu suffered greatly in his attempt to undo his destiny. Therefore, you cannot be happy with a son because you are like one whose plans are frustrated by destiny. You are so insistent and stand before me seeking end. What should I tell you in these circumstances? When the sage saw that the Brahmana was still pressing his demand, he gave a fruit to the Brahmana and said, Let your wife eat this fruit. She will then give birth to a son. For 1 year, your wife must practice truthfulness, cleanliness, and kind-heartedness, give alms, and take meals consisting of only one type of cereal, and that too once a day. By doing so, she will get a son of exceedingly sinless disposition. Having said so, the yogi departed, and the Brahmana returned to his house. There, he gave the fruit to his wife, and himself went away somewhere. Crooked as she was, his young wife wept and said to one of her female friends, I am greatly worried, and so I will not eat this fruit. By eating the fruit, I will conceive a child and get big-bellied. I will not be able to take full meals. This will make me weak, and I will not be able to do domestic work. If by chance dacoits attack the village, how will a pregnant woman be able to run? If, like the celebrated sage Shuka, the fetus lingers in the womb, how will she be able to deliver it? In case the fetus comes out in a slanting position at the time of delivery, I may even lose my life. Otherwise too, O friend, pangs of childbirth are very severe. How will a delicate woman like me bear them? When I become feeble due to confinement, my husband's sister will in that case take away all my possessions from my house. Moreover, it appears difficult for me to observe the vows of truthfulness, cleanliness, and so on. A woman who has borne a child has to suffer a lot in bringing up the child. In my view, the happy woman is she who is barren or who has lost her husband. Arguing on these fallacious lines, she did not eat the fruit. When her husband asked her if she had taken it, she replied that she had. One day, her sister came to her house of her own accord. She narrated everything to her and said, I am greatly agitated over this. I am getting weak day by day on account of this worry. Sister, what shall I do? The sister replied, I am in the family way. When a child is born to me, I shall give it to you. Till then, you pretend to be pregnant and stay in the house comfortably. Give some money to my husband and he will hand over the child to you. I will so manipulate things that people will say, my child died at the age of 6 months, while I come to your house daily and suckle the child. In order to test its efficacy, give you the fruit just now to the cow to eat. As is the nature of woman, the Brahmana's wife did precisely as her sister told her. Now in due course, when a child was born to her sister, the father of the child secretly brought it at once and gave it to Dunduli. She too informed her husband that a child had been comfortably born to her. All were happy to learn that a son was born to Atmadeva. The Brahmana performed the ceremony of Jata Karma in connection with the birth of the boy and made gifts to the Brahmanas. There was a mixed noise of songs and musical instruments and much festivity at his door. Dunduli said to her husband as follows, There is no milk in my breast. Milkless as I am, How shall I be able to nourish the child on other milk? My sister has recently given birth to a child, but the child died. Calling her, keep her in our house so that she will suckle your babe and nourish it. For the protection of his son, her husband did all that he was told by her. The mother Dunduli named that child Dundukari. 3 months later, the cow also gave birth to a human child. All its limbs were well formed. It was godlike, spotless, and shone like gold. The Brahmana was delighted to see the child, and he himself performed all the purificatory rites connected with it. People took it as a wonderful phenomenon, and all came to see the child. They said to themselves, "Look here, fortune has indeed smiled on Atmadeva at the present moment. It is really wonderful that even a cow should fetch him such a godlike child." By the dispensation of fate, no one came to know of the secret. Seeing that the ears of that child were like those of a cow, Atmadev named it Gokarna. With the passage of time, the two boys grew to manhood. Of them, Gokarna was learned and wise, while Dundukari was very wicked. He never washed himself, nor did he observe cleanliness and other rules of good conduct appropriate to a Brahmana. He ate undesirable things. His anger knew no bounds. He possessed evil things and even ate food touched by the hands of a dead body. He committed thefts and bore ill will to all. He set fire to others' houses. He took children in his arms apparently in order to fondle them, and immediately threw them into a well. He took delight in killing and moved about armed. He oppressed the miserable and the blind. He delighted in the company of members of the lowest caste and used to wander about, noose in hand, with dogs in search of game. Falling in the evil company of prostitutes, he squandered all his parental fortune. One day he cudgelled his parents and himself took away even the utensils from the house. When all his property was thus lost, the miserly father of Dundukari began to wail at the top of his voice, so the tradition goes. He said, it would have been much better if his mother remained issueless. An evil son is a source of agony. Where should I live? Where should I go? Who will alleviate this distress of mine? Ah, a great calamity has befallen me. This suffering will prove to be the cause of my death. That very moment, the wise Gokarna arrived there. Revealing the glory of dispassion, he tried to open his father's eyes. He said, there is no substance in this world. It is full of misery and is a source of great infatuation. Neither son nor wealth really belongs to us. A man attached to these has to burn day and night on their account. Happiness neither belongs to Indra, the king of gods, nor to a universal monarch. He alone who is disgusted with the pleasures of sense, is given to contemplation, and lives in seclusion is really happy. Give up the silly notion that Dundukari is your son. Through infatuation, one's lot is cast in hell. This body of yours is bound to fall. Therefore, renounce everything and retire to the woods. Hearing this admonition of Gokarna, his father decided to go to the forest and said, "O son, point out to me in detail what I should do while living in the forest. A fool as I am, bound by ties of affection, I have lain as a cripple in the deceptive well of mundane life due to my past karma. Surely lift me up, O storehouse of compassion." Gokarna continued, "Cease you to identify yourself with the body consisting of bones, flesh, and blood. Give up forever the feeling of meum with regard to wife, son, and so on. Constantly look upon this world as momentary. Taste the joy of dispassion and be established in devotion to the Lord. Constantly practice the virtue of remembering the Lord. Abandon all temporal duties. Wait upon saintly persons and give up the thirst for the pleasures of sense. Ceasing at once to dwell on the shortcomings and excellence of others, enjoy you exclusively the delight of serving the Lord and listening to his stories." Renouncing his home in respect to his son's advice, Atmadeva withdrew to the forest. Although he was on the wrong side of 60 at that time, he was a man of firm determination. Engaged day and night in service to Sri Hari, he attained to Sri Krishna by regularly reading Book 10 of Srimad Bhagavata. Thus ends the fourth discourse entitled The Deliverance of Atmadeva, a Brahmana, forming part of the glory of Srimad Bhagavata in the Uttarakhanda of the glorious Padma Purana. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.